how did you go and build your business? And then ultimately coming back, obviously you're from here, right? So you have some
Mhm.
sphere and some connections and things like that. Coming back and building it now, have those strategies and tactics changed, or are they still the same?
From my first, like, so from after my first round at Rockford, so when I got, full training, all that at Ryan Holmes, I will say, I feel like that was a million years ago. It was about, okay, 10 years ago, but 10 years it's an enormous amount of time in this life. And so at that point, I mean, I don't feel like I actually had a plan. I didn't like implement strategies. I went to work, I did like the tasks that I was supposed to do, or, like there's a lot of reporting and that kind of thing. And
Yeah.
so I honestly, I would say I didn't have like a business plan for myself. And then this time around, working at Rockford is a whole different story, because honestly, Rockford is a different builder than most in the city. We're, family owned. It's just a lot smaller of a setup, and so there isn't formal training. They're not requiring us to do any reporting or anything. It's really like they hire people who have done this for a long time, and they're like, go sell however you
Yeah.
sell. So it's been a lot more fun for me this time around to do what I feel is the best, you know, action or the best thing to do. And honestly,
Yeah.
what's really got me back into it for a lot of it is social media. And I'm not saying social media of like posting in contract, I just sold a house. It's interacting with real estate agents. It's your builder to realtor group is amazing. It's such a great group where I love that, builders, they're not like fighting each other for real estate agents to talk to them. It's just very collaborative. And I've
Right.
gotten deals from that. I've gotten actual sales from that Facebook group.
Well, good.
So
That was
that's
the goal.
been a huge part. Yeah, no, it's a really great resource, and it's a great resource. Like, there's a lot of builder reps who have to shop their competition, and they have to know what other builders are doing. And I have no problem sharing that with people, because I was there. I used to have to do that, and it's good to understand and see where you're at in the business. And if I have someone come in and be like, I have to have zero down or something like that, I know that's not really something that we can do, but I know some
Right.
builders that probably could do that or might have more flexibility with that. And so I have no problem, sending someone somewhere else or giving them another idea if we're not the right fit. And I only learned that by collaborating and interacting with people. And
Yeah.
social media is it, man.
Yeah, I'm one that believes, obviously, I'm all over social media. It's part of my business pillars. But I believe that you don't have to be on social media to have success, but I think you have to be on social media so people know that you're doing business, if that makes sense, right? Like,
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be something that you are intentionally, networking, collaborating with, but I think you have to be there. Why? Because that's where our people are. For you, you have a couple different clients, right? You have the agent as a client, to potentially bring you people. And then you also have the people that walk through the door,
Yep.
as the client. So, if you guys are, not collaborating, with other and, if you're outside of Central Ohio, and I don't know where it is, how it is in Arizona or any, I think we are pretty lucky that we have a lot of builders in our marketplace that are agent friendly.
Yeah. It is not like that in Arizona. It's a fight. They're like, fine, we'll let them be here. But, I mean, I was an agent and I went to go a specific builder out there. I had a client, I went to show up to the final walkthrough and they're like, nope, you can't come in the door. Just
Wow.
sorry, bye.
Wow.
That's, yeah. So it's definitely, we are lucky in this market to, I think almost every builder is on board with agents and see what their value is. And truly there is a value. I think that's a thing I've talked to a lot of, especially younger agents and even older ones, people who have built their business and they don't need new builds. I think you're going to need new builds. And so one of the reasons I see why they don't go to new build or don't try and promote it or offer it is, number one, it's a little slow of a process. You're not getting paid right away. But also they don't know what their value is in that process of new build. Like, well, if there's a sales rep, like, what is my value? Am I going to be able to provide something? Absolutely you are. Like, absolutely agents can be helpful. And, it's great to have I love working with the agents. Like I love to be on the same page. You know, I do my best to always include them on whatever communication. And but I think some agents maybe have not great experiences with that, or just aren't sure like what their role in the scenario is, and so they kind of avoid it. Which,
Yeah.
I mean, you're missing a big part of our industry, at least here in the Central Ohio market, because that's where it's at. I mean, you can't avoid new builds.
Well, it's one of those things, the reason why I created that group was because I was one at the time, this was like the end of 2019. So I think our team had sold, I don't know, 200-ish homes, maybe somewhere around there, less than that, I forget. But that was a big piece of the industry that we did not tap into. We didn't really focus on new construction, didn't really have a clue about new construction. And ultimately, I was just kind of frustrated because I felt like my own client trying to Google search and figure out who do I need to reach out to in this area and who's the rep and who's I'm calling a 1-800 number. And, it was just more frustrating for me. So I wanted to create like that watered down MLS feel where I could go to one spot and say, hey, who's got what in this area and who do I need to reach out to? Because I am with you in this on the topic of whether you're doing new construction or not. I think it's going to be the thing over the next decade and a half that's going to get us out of this low inventory market, right? And if you guys read all of the stats, new construction in Central Ohio is so far behind,
And it has been since we recovered from, the recession, like it has been.
Yeah. And so how's that important? Why, as an agent, why do we need to know those things, right? Well, real estate's still supply and demand. I don't care what else is happening in the world, interest rates, all of those things. The last stat I saw, it was like by 2050 or something, if we stay on pace of what we're doing right now in new construction, we will be over 100,000 homes short, right? For our population.
We can't build fast enough, right?
We can't build fast enough, right? So like those things are important. And your value as an agent in the new construction space is your expertise, because these people aren't going to live there forever, right? Like they still need to build this home thinking the end in mind, even though they're telling you, John, it's going to be my 20-30 year plan. Well,
not likely.
that doesn't happen. And my friend built a home up in Johnstown a couple years ago, and their neighbors have the same exact I think it's the same exact house. Each had an option for a bump out. If it's not the same, they had an option for a bump out. I talked my friends into doing the bump out and spending the money for it. Their neighbor did not do it. And when you walk in that house, in that living room, 4 feet makes a huge difference in feel.
Yeah.
4 feet makes a big difference in value and what you're going to get in return when you go to sell it. And that's the value that agents bring in that situation, right? Obviously, the rep's going to advise them as well. Hey, here's the most common things that are picked out, or hey, don't spend your money necessarily on this, and because you might want to move it over here to this. And there are great reps out there that do that, but as an agent, that is your value too, because they're probably going to be selling this thing in the future, and then we got to think what that what's going to bring true value to the home.